very first question. Clearly, COVID has disrupted a lot of supply chains globally. We were talking about a little bit before this, where you've done some interesting things in the world of supply chain. Plus, with your marketing lens, I'm excited to hear what you think. First question I have is, we're feeling supply chain issues from customers to businesses. How has this affected Mack Weldon?
Well, I have to say, I don't want to brag or anything. I think overall as a brand, we have a pretty strong strategic advantage just based upon our assortment. So instead of having kind of a broad assortment that's very fashion based, we have a narrower assortment, and it's filled with like a lot of depth of product. But as it relates to how we plan inventory for this year and how we think about kind of our inventory planning motions, right now we are in a very strong inventory position going into holiday.
It's great. When you're going deeper in the inventory motions, when did you start doing that? Did you see it ahead of time, or were you just fortunate enough to have a supply chain that can adapt to the challenges today?
Sure. I think it's a combination, right? So as it relates to our business itself, we don't have, an assortment that changes, like we're not fast fashion. So that in and of itself is very helpful. And the way that we buy and think about cycles, we definitely have a very strong, capable inventory planning team that really looks at obviously what people are buying, trends. I mean, data is so important to us. So really making kind of the big bets on the things that we think will continue to drive the business and engage our customer are really important. So I think as we're kind of part of COVID, coming out of COVID, making big bets for the holiday, we made certain big bets that are paying off for us really nicely. And again, I think like no one's immune to what's happening, but because of the way that we engage different partners for different things, the fact that we kind of have a distributed system, we could use multiple ports, etc. We are definitely 50-50 got pretty lucky, and then 50-50 have a really good plan.
Yeah, you're very, very lucky, which is exciting to hear. And I'm sure going deeper here, do you have any strategies or recommendations around marketing specifically that would help here and that you were able to put into place?
Yeah, I think for us, because everything right for the past 18 plus months has been so topsy-turvy, what we did going into holiday was have a very planful point of view on how we would approach marketing, which was not knowing exactly if we were going to have COVID issues again, but supply chain issues. What we did was we architected a totally different marketing plan. So we had a modular marketing plan, which basically we have 3 active versions of what that marketing plan is. So we're ready with like A's and B's and C's if there are disruptions. And for the most part, I have to say, we've had very minor disruptions. So a day here, a day there, but when we're on a very tight marketing cadence and set of communications with our customers, like they're expecting certain things on certain days. So making sure that we're still continuing with that cadence, but having plans in place to fill in if there's anything that shifts. Another thing was, as we went to shoot this campaign for holiday, we shot it in a completely modular fashion. So as we think about tops and bottoms and accessories and all of, underwear, what we did was came up with 2 creative concepts where we were able to swap things out if we needed to. So whether that was something didn't arrive in time or a color sold out maybe unexpectedly, we have some amazing new colors. These are some product development things behind me here, but like wine stain right there is one of our newer colors, which is selling really well. So making sure that we're always offering up our customers something that is available and in stock and ready to ship was important to us. So as we think about our brand positioning around the daily wear system, we basically built a holiday marketing system which was like, and has been an amazing advantage for us, because as we're going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, etc. We can also look at our individual channels, whether that's in retail. We just opened this past weekend our 3rd store in Century City, California, which was really exciting. I just came back this morning on the red eye. But we can actually promote and do different things in store than we can to existing customers via email, that we can via kind of like paid advertising as well with this modular system.
Super smart. I heard contingency planning. I heard modular kind of design / SKU mix, which a lot of companies don't do, which me being a supply chain professional, I love it because then it makes sure like limits overstock or out of stock, especially during holidays. You mentioned holidays a lot, but you just mentioned the world of retail and direct to consumer. When I was at Harry's and started there, we're just going international. It was pre going to Target, where we went into 1,800 plus Target stores. It was very, very complex, and it changed things substantially, not just for supply chain, but also for our marketing team to understand mixes, et cetera. How has it changed for you? 3rd store, direct to consumer to the 3rd store. How has that changed your strategies?
It's changing it a lot. And in a really exciting way. Prior to getting on with you, we were just briefing our store team on kind of what the in-store activation or promotion plan will be. So as a brand, we don't have sales. We have a couple of key promotions during the year. But what we're seeing is, because of the opportunity that we have in store, where someone is experiencing our brand at large, like in its full kind of splendor at the same time, we have different ways that we can communicate to them about our value proposition, the products that we offer, and the way that we have our kind of clothing kind of designed to work together, and we call them stories. It's kind of like 4 key kind of modes, if you will, versus when we're talking to consumers online, they're probably understanding one product from us. And maybe, I know, Rodney, you are a purchaser of our products, and you probably entered maybe by a digital ad that was talking to you about one item. So then what we have to do there is do the complete opposite of something that I've just done for a store person, like someone who's come in the store, where I say, okay, you've seen our buffet of delights. Let us tell you about these individual products. We have to do the exact opposite online, where we're saying, hey, this is a great habitat vest that I'm wearing. Let us tell you about what that can go with, how you can outfit it, where you can go in it, etc. And then the things that you can build as part of our daily wear system to add on to it over time and through seasons. So it's almost like a completely opposite conversation. So it's been really fun as we're thinking about architecting our long-term relationships and conversations, mapping how your point of entry, like where it was, what you've seen already, and kind of what we will talk to you about next, which is something that even when we only had 1 store in Hudson Yards up until a few weeks ago, and now we have 3, that we didn't think about as much as we are now, and especially as we're going to 2022 planning. So we're thinking about that segmentation, the way that like you like to receive information. It's totally different now that we have the stores, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I should have led with this. We have about roughly 10 minutes left. If anyone has a question, please feel free to chat. We definitely want to answer them for you. I'm going to have a couple more. If you have some lesson learned from this year that you can pass off to anyone else, obviously this may be a unique situation, maybe not, but what lesson learned do you have to take away here that you would share and that you would put into practice the next 5+ years?
I think the first thing is assume the worst and hope for the best.
Yep.
And what I love about how we've entered things since I've been here for the past 5 months or so is every time we're met with a new challenge, we literally sit around a table as a fully integrated cross-functional team where everyone brings their points of view to the table to kind of say, okay, at best, this will happen. At worst, this will never happen, right? And how do we plan for that in a way where we're obviously kind of arming ourselves with enough information to make smart decisions, which I think wouldn't we wouldn't necessarily benefit from if we didn't all sit at the table cross-functionally and really kind of pour our guts out and be honest about it. Because I think sometimes everyone's like, this is my camp, like I'll wait to show this until it's done, or we've done it this way in the past. And I think what we've done is just kind of broken down the way that, like, that old playbook of just like, this gets passed on to this, gets passed on, you know, to marketing, and then it goes live, that we're kind of all sitting together like in a war room fashion all the time, as a leadership team, as a cross-functional kind of practice team in the trenches every day as well. And I think that's the number one thing that has given us a really strong advantage. I think another thing is bring the right partners to the table to make sure that you are ready for what is to come, and whether that is creative partners. I believe some of our creative partners have joined. I've been getting some nice little notes, so thank you for that. It's very kind. Right, whether those are supply chain partners, distribution partners, et cetera, making sure that we're bringing on like-minded partners that are up for the challenge of change, because I think like that's also a mindset. So some people see all of this change and disruption as a headwind, others see it as a tailwind. So making sure you've got a lot of tailwinds around the table, or tailwind lovers at the table, has also been really important for us.
So it sounds like you shifted to a world where you start together and finish together versus sequential, like one team hands off to another and then another, which I'm sure, I guess I should ask this, has that changed like speed to market or any kind of time? And I'll just share, it's like, typically it's like, if you have information sooner, I think of like the holidays back in, you know, whatever it was, Apple or Harry's when I was doing it. I want to get information until after like the product brief, where it was like pretty much fully baked. But if I could do it sooner, I can impact margins, I can impact maybe even timelines. Has that impacted anything for you in the business across the supply chain, or even for you personally in marketing?
It has. It's really interesting because we were given a gift of an opportunity to relook at some things that we're doing for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And we were kind of looking at some data, and we realized that there's a strategic opportunity that we had for something, which I think if we were just waiting for briefs to be passed, like that creative was already baked, had a bow on it, was shot. And I'm trying to think what day it was, like last Wednesday, we kind of really, some things unfolded in real time. I sat down with our head of finance and ops, who's amazing, and we just looked at some data and we made some decisions, and we got together as a leadership team quite quickly to kind of say, hey, wait a minute, if we do this, we can actually give our customers something better, a larger variety of something. You'll see it in a few weeks. And I don't think that would have happened if it was just kind of like product getting passed on to marketing, et cetera, et cetera. Because again, I think for all intents and purposes, that was kind of done and dusted and already on the shelf, like ready to just be deployed. And what was interesting, so our CEO and founder, Brian Berger, asked me what the creative team's reaction was to this change, right? Because again, we're talking about headwinds and tailwinds. They were so excited, and this is a team that is not easily impressed. They were actually really excited because it was something different for us. And they were like, we like this. This is amazing. Like, we're excited to basically redo an entire campaign, because they also saw the benefit to our customer, which again, I think like as we're talking about this, like the customer is at the center of everything that we do. Every time we think that something may go wrong, we also make sure that we have a plan to make sure that he or she feels like they're still kind of with us on this journey. We're doing a lot of things to communicate that things are ready to ship. Our customers do not like it when we sell out of anything, and we're kind of proactively communicating if we are seeing any of that happening. So I think also just like the customer connectivity that we're seeing during this time, and customers kind of saying like, hey, I was in the store, like their shelves are empty. What's going on? Like your store looks amazing with those Ace sweatshirts. Like that's a great little kind of pat on the back for us as well. And it's nice to hear that from our customers.
Yeah. No, I would absolutely agree. Having your shelves empty, especially nowadays when people expect product to be there and they're going for the holidays to give gifts, etc., that could be a killer. We have about 5 minutes left. Are there any questions for the audience?
I actually have a question.
Go ahead, Chris.
Ooh,
Hi. Hi, Talia. I actually have a ton of questions for you after I just read an article of yours that was in Glossy.
boy.
Your Snapchat background, the fact you guys are spending, if I read it correctly, most of your advertising in TV. But there's a concept I'm fascinated by that I wanted to ask you about, and that is this concept of the storeless economy that we talk about here at the IAB and omni-channel marketing. So the fact that you came from TikTok, and what we're seeing is that we're seeing kind of social drive commerce, like the tail is wagging the dog. I'm wondering like what your mindset is towards marketing in this, marketing across your store versus your physical store versus your e-commerce storefront, and how you're kind of navigating, that sea and figuring out, where the most important touch points are in terms of engaging, not connecting, but engaging with your consumers.
It's a great question. I think there's a few things which are the communication landscape is changing so quickly. Yesterday, I had the benefit of walking around the Westfield at Century City, where our new store is. And I walked in with someone on our team to the Amazon bookstore. And it's a gorgeous store. I'd never been in one before, actually. And in the front section, there was, bestsellers, new nonfiction, and then as seen on TikTok was literally a section that they had. And TikTok is great with their subcultures. So they have book talk, which is like a big thing. And kind of even seeing that was just such a crazy moment. If you think about this time last year, people were talking about, is TikTok going to even be in existence? And now this is like a channel that's driving commerce in such a major way. And it is our responsibility as marketers, again, that get excited about a lot of change and maybe potential headwinds, to look at the best channels that we have available to talk to our best segments of customers. So again, like someone like, my uncle may only engage with a brand like ours on Facebook. That's his preferred channel. And how do we do that in a way that's meaningful and consistent versus someone else who may only want to engage with us on organic social or paid social, and really looking and understanding all of those touch points, how they work together, but also what preferences are. And I think, as we look to go from obviously e-com powerhouse, I'll just say that, I like to brag a little bit sometimes, to like a fully omni-channel company, we are exploring all the new ways that we have to connect locally with our customers as well. So we were in Austin the week before last, where we just opened a store in Domain Northside. The community that exists around Domain Northside is very family centric. Domain Northside is a destination. We're thinking about, okay, what can we do in store that is more helpful and has utility to this community versus like in Hudson Yards, where it's very transient. We have a lot of office workers and tourists where they just kind of want to get in and out fast, right? So even as like the store as a living interactive billboard and TV commercial, we're looking at those as individual touch points as well, which is really exciting, but daunting when you're looking at 2022 budgets and figuring out like, what are the big bets that I'm going to make next year? And a lot of it is just based on the data that we have. We see where we're getting sales, engagement, AOV, that type of thing, and making those big bets as we go into next year. But it's constantly evolving, because whenever we feel just okay in a channel, we can basically assume that it's either going to change dramatically or there's going to be a new player. So NFTs are something that we're really interested in right now. A lot happening in that space. I'm personally obsessed with them. The metaverse, right? So there's just all of these new frontiers that we have to conquer as marketers and brands.
Thank you. That's fascinating. The only takeaway I'm going to take from that is the store as a TV commercial. That's the first time I've heard it put that way. Very cool. Thank you very much.
Right. We're going to have to wrap up here. I appreciate everyone joining. Thank you, Talia. Really excited to hear what Mack Weldon's doing, and looking forward to what's going to be launched for the holidays.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining. Hopefully some of you are in the market where our stores are and you can come see those interactive TV commercials.